Hello, everybody. Welcome to Think Tomorrow. Kyle Wolf, as always, re-welcoming back. Let's put the logo there. Re-welcoming back. Excuse me, Rayla Campbell. She's running for Congress once again, Massachusetts 7th District, and wanted to get her back on the show. There's been a lot of news going on. Obviously, at the bottom of the banner, this is really the topic of the show, and we're going to have a couple other topics we're going to discuss. But first and foremost, Rayla, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me, Kyle. It's my pleasure to be here back on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. So Rayla, definitely wanted to just dive deep into this. But first and foremost, I wanted to talk about what you've been doing in your campaign, obviously running against Ayanna Pressley. She's a Democrat who was elected, I believe, in 2018, just two years ago, excuse me. And wanted to get a feel for where your campaign is now and if you have any events coming up.
Definitely. So I do have an event coming up. It's coming up tomorrow, Thursday, here in Randolph at Powers Farm. We're doing a standout. It's American Values, American Way. It's police, fire, military, Trump, me, just America and our values, our dreams, our visions, how we've always been. And also, it's about protecting our history and education. So that's happening tomorrow. My campaign is going pretty strong, where I'm going to standouts, getting out there, meeting the people, talking to everybody, shaking hands, giving hugs. What we got to do, get out there and know that the people know that I'm going to be there for them. And I will always speak for them, not for myself.
Absolutely. That's really great to hear that you're obviously, boots on the ground is the best way. Obviously, social media has given the luxury to do things like this and to go live and just have a discussion about some of the topics that are happening. And with no further ado, let's jump in. So once again, as everyone's seeing at the bottom of our screen, rest in peace, Davon McNeal. Unfortunately, he was tragically murdered. And I'll put the headline here. So basically 11 years old. I went live back at 5 o'clock just 2 hours ago to talk about this, and really sad to see it. I wish the best for the family. First and foremost, I look at everybody as a human first, and that's my view. The goal here is not to talk about me, but to talk about how it's important for all of us to look at one another as individuals first. And this person, 11 years old, he was playing football. The child had a lot of potential, and you could see that in him. You could see it in his vision, his eyes, just his character, his smile, everything. It's making me emotional. But so once again, 11 years old, fatally shot in Southeast D.C. They were basically holding like an anti-violence cookout on the 4th of July, because why wouldn't you want anti-violence on the 4th of July? Because that is all about America, and it's all about unifying our country. That was the one day to have unity, I think. And unfortunately, the media had made it more about division. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? It's so tragic to hear. All I keep hearing on the news are babies being killed in violence. And this 11-year-old little man was just getting out there starting his life. He didn't even have an opportunity. And why would somebody go and commit such a vile act on a child? That's my problem is they're targeting children. It's no holds barred. What is this? What is happening? We need to make sure that we're protecting our children, our youth. Every life is a precious gift from God. So for me, I find this completely just disheartening, and it's so sad, and like my heart and prayer goes out to the families. And I don't know how we can allow this in this country, continuously allow this type of violence, and not stand up and support the police and support the families and really be protecting these children.
Yeah, the word you used was disheartening. That was very disheartening. I think that's the applicable word. I was using sad because it's very simple to just use an easy 3-letter word, and it's very simple and it's very effective, and it's definitely an emotion that humans naturally feel. It's very important to recognize that we can have happiness, sadness. There's different emotions that we all have. But this is a moment of, I think, unity once again, which could have happened with George Floyd. Rest in peace to him as well. It could have been a moment in our history where we could have seen complete unity. And I think that's all I wanted. I think a lot of Americans wanted that. They wanted to say, this isn't about race. This is about brutality amongst all people, that whatever you want to call it in whatever ways it is. But it's really sad. It truly is. And disheartening is definitely the applicable word. So definitely wanted, like I said, hear your thoughts on it. And as a mother, obviously, I don't have children, but obviously you as a mother, I'm sure it's a little different for you.
It is. It's very traumatic. I have 3 children, and I have a little baby son. He's only 3 years old, so I couldn't even imagine But then hearing these stories all over the country, and it's always these little children that you're hearing. And where are we going to say enough is enough? That's what I'm saying. My heart breaks every time I turn on the TV and I hear another child, another innocent baby of God has been taken away before they even got a chance. Senseless violence. We've got to stop it. This is enough is enough. We need to be protecting our children. We need to be protecting our country and our values. But the children are what make us grow. The children are our future. And we need to be giving them the founding foundations for them to actually be respectful, honorable, strong, hardworking Americans, and give them that opportunity where they have a perfect life to live, whatever they want to do. It's right there. You can do whatever you want. You're an American, whatever you want, just hard work and determination. But we're allowing these people to go out there and to do these violent acts, and these mayors of these towns, Marty Walsh, aren't doing anything about it. And they'll sit there and they'll allow babies to be murdered in the streets when they were the ones that allowed these criminals to come out. They could have given them mask. That's what they needed. Mask. That's when you're in jail, you get a mask. No, you want to let these people out on the streets, and now look at what's happening. Look at what's happening. Our children are being killed. And they've been killed before, but not this young. It was, you always have black on black crime and nobody says anything about it. But when have you had all these babies being killed? And nobody's saying anything about it.
Right. And these aren't just isolated incidents. These aren't just in D.C. These are happening in Chicago, in Minneapolis, in other cities and states, for example. And we've seen something, little segue here, but we've seen something that's happened across the country. There's been a whole kind of movement, if you will, of the defund the police. Something that I've done research on and have seen with New York City specifically. They had removed one of their police barracks recently, a couple days ago. And they've seen approximately year over year, not even just in the last week or days, but 205% increase in murders in New York City. Not the state, but just the city. Still double. I mean, double from last year. We were on path for, I think, for a moment of unifying. And once again, with George Floyd, rest in peace, I think that was a point for us to unify. So the defund the police, quick segue here. So the person you are running against right now is Democrat Ayanna Pressley. She is a representative for your district. And right now, she is a believer of defund the police movement, right? We're seeing that with the left and some of the other left movements there. So her quote was, "This is simply about a refund. This is about defund the police. This is about true reparations. This is about investment in communities." So Ayanna Pressley, she had told the Time national correspondent, Charlotte Alter, with them. But I'm very interested, to hear your thoughts on Ayanna's decision there, and I guess the whole defund the police movement.
A refund to who? Why you? So you defund the police. You take them out of the communities that they've been protecting, the communities that need the police there to protect them with the drug and the violence from the criminals that she likes to release in the neighborhoods. So now you want to defund them, take away their money, take away things that they need to actually go and do their jobs. What are you going to do when there's a murder? What are you going to do when there's all sorts of violence happening and you have no police there? How does defunding the police and simply giving so that must be a reparations thing. Giving a refund to who? To who? Every single American? Because every single American is of mixed blood. So who is she really? She's harming the communities that she is trying, or supposedly saying she is trying to protect. She is just doing more damage to these communities because that's where the violence is. So you're taking those police officers out of the communities. All right, well, let's send all the violent people to her neighborhood. Defund the police then.
That's actually a very good question to ask. And I think here's the answer. Look what happened in Seattle. You had a mayor and a governor, quite frankly, of Washington State, who basically, let Chaz, Chop, whatever you want to call these people, allow them to just take over Seattle. I mean, what kind of leadership is that? So, and guess what? They came to the mayor's door, knocking on sunshine, they say, right? And guess what? They took down Chaz Chop. They got one of the leaders of the BLM activists, if you will. And I think we should kind of talk about that for a moment. But what are your thoughts? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
They murdered two people. They murdered two young people. What is it, 17-year-old and a 19-year-old, I believe? Young men. They murdered them. Why? Well, because they disagreed with their rules. That's communism. Let's get it straight. The Democrats are not the Democrat Party. They are the Democrat National Communist Party.
Interesting. I've seen some of that being talked about, and some of the far lefts. I mean, I don't think these are the Democrats of the 90s, right? The Bill Clintons, the Al Gores, the people that really, and even Obama in some ways, like he was more moderate, right? I think we could safely say that. But, these radical left, I don't know where they're coming from. You have the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars. I guess Ayanna Pressley, you can say, is probably on that spectrum. And even Ed Markey is defined as a progressive now. Where does it end?
I don't even understand what's happening, because there's progressives and then there's anti-American. The things that they are doing are anti-American. They're completely trying to destroy our country. Our history is what has made us the country we are now. All of the changes, all of the things, the acts we've put in place, the amendments to the Constitution to help out. I mean, Martin Luther King is literally rolling over his grave because they just set civil rights back beyond when he was running. When he was doing everything, he brought everybody together, made changes, legislation. What are they doing? They're tearing down everything. They are tearing down their history. They don't even know about Frederick Douglass. Really? I mean, come on. And the same thing with the 54th. They cannot go and destroy history that they know nothing about. These are African Americans. So how do Black Lives matter when you're destroying the history of African Americans who fought and died for this country, for the freedoms we all have today?
Right. And we have seen, that specific monument that was damaged, right? Luckily it wasn't taken down, but it was damaged. It was being, terrorized, if you will. We have seen this with other people that have been clearly activists and clearly, helpful to minorities in general, not just to the African Americans, but to other minorities and even non-minorities, majorities, right? So where does it end? I mean, is it Abraham Lincoln? Is it George Washington? When does it end? And now one more thing there is, we saw with President Trump going to Mount Rushmore to have a speech on the 4th of July. We saw that, right? And the press wanted to talk about how he visited two slave owners, which is true, right? It's not that it's wrong. It's not that it's false. But the same message was not meant for Bernie Sanders, for President Obama, former president, and even Bill Clinton when he went to Mount Rushmore. They didn't talk about that. They talked about inclusiveness and a beautiful moment in history. It's just amazing to watch the media unfold. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, they're out to do the same thing, destroy the country, destroy the president. And it's, again, what makes it different for this president than any other president going to Mount Rushmore? Because his name is Donald Trump. That's it. He was a celebrity before he was a president. They were all buddy. Now he's the president and they despise him and they want to say he's a racist, xenophobe, homophobe, everything else. Yet he's done more for the African Americans than any other president. How does that make him a racist?
That's a great question to ask. And hopefully somebody has an answer. I don't think they have an interesting one. So one of the things I think is good about having objectivity with any kind of media is to have a little level of criticism, and positive or negative, right? And one of our commenters had wanted to just, I guess, talk about either you or Presley. I don't know, because Presley's up there too, so it could be either one of you. If it is about you, defend this.
Oh.
I don't know if it's about you. It could be Ayanna, because I mean that makes more sense for her profile, not for yours. But
clearly Presley. She's very divisive. So all she does is come into the communities and try to pit race. It's brown, black, people of color, illegal immigrants, people, convicts. And it's just like she's always picking color. Why is it always about color with this woman? All people live in these neighborhoods. We're Americans. We work hard for everything that we have. We get up in the morning, work our butts off, come take care of our kids, everything. Maybe she doesn't understand what it is to actually be a real mom, to give birth to a child, and to actually have to make sure that you're watching out for this child, you're protecting this child, you're looking out for this child's best interest, history, the way they learn, the way they carry themselves. My children, I raise them as strong Americans. They're mixed children. So we don't talk about color. We only see red, white, and blue.
Here's our follow-up.
I do try to get Democrat votes, actually. I've gotten a lot of walkaways. So, it's all about opening up and having your own opinion. You don't need, like, you can be a Democrat and still vote for me because you like the way that my policies and what I'm putting out forward, because I'm not a divider. I'm working with Democrats. There's a lot of Democrats because you know what? According to Ayanna Pressley, you cannot be a Democrat who is a pro-life Democrat. So where did that leave those people?
And those, you could probably argue, are more the moderate type of Democrats, not the radical ones, right?
No,
and I think it's important to know that it is definitely important to note that there are radicals on both ends, right? You have the radical right, the radical left. There's plenty of it. We've seen it. Where I think our country does best is with moderates. And I mean moderate Republicans, I mean moderate Democrats, whatever it might be. I don't really know if the politically correctness of them is the right message. I think being direct and being honest is
an independent thinker.
Yeah, so be a free thinker, an independent thinker. I firmly believe in that, certainly. So, I just think that having, like I said, in the 90s, I feel like we had a little bit more peace. I mean, I'm sure there were probably some incidences that happened. Obviously, the investigation of President Bill Clinton at the time. So to put that in there. But she just said stop bashing them, I guess. But anyway, positively, we have Julie Hall that wanted to say hello.
Thank you, Julie. Hi, it's good to see you. I'm glad you joined in and you're watching us. I love Julie. She's awesome. But we're going to be spending a lot of time together.
Yes. Hopefully we'll see some campaigning, I guess. I think one of the things that you and I talked about historically is just to talk about unifying, right? And whether it's unifying the country, unifying the party, unifying people in your neighborhood, your family, there's unification. Anytime you unify something, I think it's for the greater good, right? Now, I think this is a moment in time where I think the Republican Party should unify, because the Democrat Party is clearly divided, right? You have the radical left, the moderate, and there's a lot of things going on. Now, where do you align with that? Do you believe there should be some unifying in your party?
100%. And that's what I've been trying to do, especially here in Massachusetts. There's a lot of division. So I want to make sure that we bring everybody back together. We are all going for the greater good, for our country, for American values, American dreams. So it's really important that us, even Republicans and Democrats, we can work together. We can work together for the common good. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We don't have to pit each other against each other, pitting races against each other. We literally did all of that, fixed all of that. We, like you said, in the 90s and early 2000s, we had harmony. And then all of a sudden, before our eyes, I think it had to be within the last 10 years, it's just been slowly that division. But we need to stop it. We need to squash it. And we need to rise above it and say, you know what? No, we are Americans. We are unified. We love our neighbors. Our neighbors are diverse. I am coming from the most diverse community there is out there. Like, I love everybody. These are my people. Black, white, Spanish, Asian, Mexican, Americans. We're here for the American dream and the goal, which is to be free, independent, loving our country, loving our God, which is the Lord Jesus Christ.
No, very interesting. I think that's one of the things that we haven't seen a whole lot is, and you mentioned 10 years, right? I think it was happening even under Obama. He received a tremendous amount of criticism. I think some rightfully so, and I think the same thing for Trump. I think it's good to have criticism when needed. I don't think just loving a president 100% is good for anybody, because then you don't really know how to have an argument on the other side of it, right? So I think it's important to have that mentality of being a free thinker, to criticize when needed, and give credit where credit's due. And I don't think there's fair treatment between when President Obama was in office or Trump. I think they were both divided. Just the side, it was CNN and then it was Fox. Now it's just crazy.
Yeah, well, now it's everybody against one, so that makes it even more difficult. It's just everything the president does, no matter what he does, they gotta attack him. They gotta target him. It's the same thing happening with me. You know, everything that I'm trying to do, they want to target me. My son just appeared. So
Tomorrow is a kid-friendly podcast show.
He's like, oh, he just woke up. Daddy got him though.
Oh man, that's good. That's good publicity for the kids. Maybe they'll run for office someday, right?
Exactly. Oh, he was gonna be the first pilot of the Space Force, but they already went up.
Oh, already? Really?
Oh, he loves that stuff. He's so cute.
That's awesome. One more message for Julie here.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is your event tomorrow, right?
Yes, so tomorrow we have a standout, like I said, American values, American dreams. It's like basically we're getting out there and we're just supporting us as Americans, supporting how we love to live our life free, how we are independent thinkers, how we love each other. We're mixed backgrounds. You know, my neighborhood has 60 different languages spoken in the household. So when you think about that, that's major diversity. We came together like you wouldn't believe during Corona. So it's really important going out to a rally and standing up for the Americans, you know, for all of us, our hard work and our small businesses. That's what it's about. You know, police, fire, military, the baby.
Hey, there we go.
The baby. So it's like, yeah.
On the show, I like it.
Yeah, he's tired, so you know it's late, but it's going to be a great event. It's from 2 to 4, and well, actually 2 to 6. I extended it so that a lot more people could come and meet me. And we're going to have someone there from the Trump Students for Trump team. I'm going to have to adjust this up a little bit so that I can feed myself.
Whatever you wish.
So yeah, it's going to be big. We're going to have a ton of people. I'm hoping all the bikers come, police, fire. We've had some military coming, but it's just standing up for us as Americans and our values and our dreams and our kids and just our future. So it's a standout that's all about us. Just not about diversity, not about pitting races against each other, just about love for our country.
No, that's awesome. And I guess what is your message? I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but what is your overarching message to the RNC as far as unity?
Well, the RNC or the GOP in Massachusetts?
Yeah, is there a difference? I'm sorry.
Yes.
My terminology correct, huh? Yeah, the GOP.
Yeah. So I just really want everybody to work together. You know, we're all going for the strong fight. We're going for the fight. We're going for the win in November. We really want to support each other, you know, be there, unified, show everybody that the Massachusetts GOP is not a joke. You know, we're going to show up. We're going to be there, going to work hard for all of our constituents. We love our country. We love our state, and we're going to do whatever we can to protect the values for the American people.
That's great. That's a great message. And I really hope to see more unifying, especially even on both parties. Like I said, I think it was easier to make decisions and it wasn't as hostile to make a decision when you were, you know, in the moderate ages of the 90s. And I mean, I'm a 90s baby, so I can say that, but I'm sure there were other parts of history where we had a little bit more normalcy in politics. And we've also had areas in our time where there was more division. And obviously we're in a divisive country right now, it feels like. But I think at the end of the day is that positivity and peace prevails, at least with our country. We don't typically see what happened in Venezuela, you know, with socialism. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, I guess, with socialism, because somebody had mentioned this here. And I mean, obviously, communism is the far fetch of socialism, or it has some fallacies that align. But does it make sense to you that, you know, people attribute socialism to communism in some ways?
Yeah. Yes, it does, because what they're saying isn't socialism. It's communism. Listen to what they want to tell where you can shop, what time, when you can go out and eat, what you learn, how you learn it, who you learn it by. How is that not communism?
Right. And one thing that you just said right there, and I didn't understand this, the curfew. Like, does COVID not travel, or it only transfers at night? It's only infect. I could go on
and the whole like Dr. Fauci is out there contradicting himself on everything. And then yesterday,
the CDC.
Yes. Did you see that yesterday what the CDC said? They're like, well, asymptomatic people don't necessarily pass it along. So why is everybody walking around with masks? If you're sick, you wear a mask.
It almost seems to me that it's more about control and not about freedom.
It is about control, just like it's a suggestion for the mask. It's not requirement. The CDC suggests, and it says it on all the messages if you listen, but then when you read what it says on the doors, it's like it's required. It's not required. Let's look at this. So we have a respiratory disease, and yet you want to have people take away 25% of their oxygen by putting on a mask. And then you also want them to keep breathing in the carbon dioxide that they're supposed to be exhaling for a respiratory disease.
Yeah, it hasn't made too much sense. Even from the beginning, I think there's been a lot of confusion, which has kind of made me not have as much trust in the systems that we have in place. And obviously, big news. And I shared this yesterday. President Trump and obviously the White House, actually it was the White House that announced it, it wasn't even Trump, announced that we have formally withdrawn from the WHO.
Yay, good.
I think they were there's been a lot of things that have been happening. And
it's been a busy week.
The mask thing with the CDC is one thing I remember very early on in March. It was talking about how, you don't need a mask and save them only for medical professionals. And then they let the medical professionals allow them to use a surgical mask, which you and I both know, just as a human, not even as a professional, that a surgical mask that has all these holes on it, do you really think that's going to work, or is it more about control?
It's about control. Exactly about control. And that's the thing. Like, if you're sick, stay home. Don't go out. If you're sick and you have to go to the doctors or whatever, put on a mask. It says it when you're in the door. If you're sick, put on a mask. But if you're perfectly healthy, you really are just harming your immune system. Wash your hands. Simple. Wash your hands.
Right. And even something I saw, I don't necessarily remember which state it was. I'll have to kind of dig up the article, but I remember reading upon it, and it was about kind of like this mask shaming that's been happening. And we've clearly seen that. I mean, I go anywhere I go, I feel like if I get ridiculed for it just for being in my car, it's like, it's just getting a little absurd in some capacity. But nonetheless, I mean, what are your thoughts on mask shaming? Should you be calling the police when you don't see someone with a mask on?
We went to New Hampshire and nobody was wearing a mask. And they told us, oh, if you wear a mask, you're from Massachusetts. Like, go back to Massachusetts with your mask. I did get mask shamed the other day on Sunday. I went shopping at Shaw's. My local Shaw's that I go shopping at without a mask all the time. And I happened to see one of my church members there. And I gave her a hug without my mask and gave her one of my cards. But her daughter didn't really seem to like that so much and complained to the manager, who's my friend. He was like, "How you doing, Rayla?" Like, "Hey, how you doing?" Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just stop trying to shame people. There's no reason for it. If you're sick or if you're so concerned, then you can wear a mask. But don't try to force everybody else to take away their freedoms by shoving something over their face. I'm not wearing one.
Yeah, one of the things that we saw in regards to COVID and in regards to defund the police, things that we just started to talk about in this show here, was something that we saw with Allie's Donuts. So this is a Rhode Island-based company. This is kind of like a little bonus edition. We're going to talk about this one because this needs the publicity that I think it deserves, and however you wish to interpret it. And everyone has a free mind to think this is bad or this is right, like right or wrong. That's fine. This is the whole idea. So Allie's Donuts said, I quote, this is the owner. Oh, this is fun. And by the way, just FYI, the owner took it over from the father. The father's rolling in his grave. He has to be. Quote, we will no longer offer military or police discounts, and shame on you for your silence. Thoughts?
I find that completely and utterly ridiculous. It's bad for their business. Why aren't you giving police and military who go out and serve? Why wouldn't you give them? Why wouldn't you give them discounts? Isn't their money green? just as green as anybody else's. So, and the shame on you for your silence. Who are they shaming? The officers? The people? Like, the officers are doing their job day in and day out. That's it.
I have a good colleague that's in the police department, and then just for his name, I don't want to wish to share that. But, something that him and I have talked about in regards to the police is that they wake up every day, and their family, their friends, people that they know, whatever, don't really know if they're going to show up that night. And
Nope.
I think as somebody, as a spouse or kids, I think that's a lot of stress to have, right? If I was a police officer and I had a family, I know I would be stressing my entire family out, quite frankly. Because you wake up every day and you don't know, and literally it's not even about what state you're in or what city. It can happen anywhere. It could happen in a very peaceful city. You just happen to pull somebody over as a police officer, and just writing up a ticket for speeding, or going 15 over, running a stop sign. You don't know what's going to happen in any split second. So I think we need to reevaluate the police, and I think we need to look at them and say, hey, they're going out there every day, and their families have virtually no idea if they're going to come home.
It's a really stressful job. It's the little acts of kindness that help them to get through their jobs every single day. Those little things that people appreciate them for, that they don't talk about, because they get up every day and they do it for love of country, community, and for protecting those people. They're not going out there trying to be heroes or anything. They're going out and doing a job they love to protect every single one of us.
And you know what's interesting, Rayla? A little throwback Thursday. It's not even Thursday, it's Wednesday. A little throwback. My days, COVID days. Every day is new day for me. I work every day. I love it. I enjoy it, sincerely. So one thing that we've seen in history, little throwback, the Vietnam War. Do you remember the veterans that came home and they were shamed for serving our country?
Mm-hmm. I do,
I think
they do
similar
too.
thing that's happening more on the domestic side, right? The police. But it's also, I think, some of the military is being shamed.
They are. It's crossing over. I do see that. And again, these men and women go out there, put their lives on the line for us, for a better future for Americans. Our military is doing everything that they can to protect the American citizens and to help people. They're all over the country, all over the world, raising people up, doing different things to help all these communities. Why are you shaming these people? Why are you harming these people? They're serving a country. I ask everybody who has something to say, why aren't you serving?
I get those questions a lot as well. I really do, and I hear that.
You know what the president should do? You know what he should do? Clean up the mess on these streets with these kids. Reenact the draft.
Interesting. I think the draft definitely, or you have seen in other countries such as Israel, South Korea, right? These two countries, for example, have a policy where I think by 30 years old, you're required to serve at least 2 years in the military. I wonder if that would help our country as far as patriotism, respect, burning the American flag. I mean, my belief, I know this is probably extreme, but if you're burning and stepping on the flag, I think you should be deported, because there's a lot of people that are dreamers, and I want these dreamers to have a chance in our country, because I think a lot of them really want to work hard. I want people that are trying to come here legally to have an opportunity. And I wonder if you feel the same way. Maybe not deport them, maybe a jail sentence, but I think if you're doing that, what's next? You're going to burn down a house? I mean, what's next?
If you're here and you're on a visa or whatever, and you're burning a flag, take away the visa, send them back. It's the reenacting the draft would teach these children discipline, respect, and honor. They're brainwashed right now. They're robots. They have no idea what their country means and what everybody has done for them to be out there. They're not taught civics. Civics, history need to be brought back in school. It's extremely important.
I've talked to a lot of people with civics. I personally, because I'm a finance guy, I like the idea of having economics, because I think knowing how to budget your finances. I mean, why not have one class for half a year? Even a semester is enough.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole system needs an overhaul. Like I said, we need to go in school choice. I mean, the teachers union, that's got to be I don't know, issues. Maybe go in and figure out removing people, taking people out of certain things, help it, because that's just, what's happening, and these children are coming home and saying, well, my teacher is telling me to say this. Indoctrination. It's got to stop.
Right,
It's
right.
been
And
happening for years.
they're starting with the youth because, I mean, arguably I've been kind of on the compliance side my whole life of, getting the good grades and impressing my parents, impressing my family, like, the goody two shoe, if you will, like trying to do the right thing. And that almost kind of brainwashed me. And it kind of woke me up this year when I started to read news instead of watching Fox or CNN or CNBC or NBC. It's one of those things that if you start reading your news, I firmly believe that you can start formulating a much better opinion and maybe a more inclusive opinion.
Definitely. It started a while ago where they did this, and I would say when they took out sustained silent reading. Remember when we used to have to actually get stories from the newspaper and bring them in? Yeah, like we would have to read them and understand about them. They don't do that.
Almost like debate them, like talk about it, like do like a little presentation and then talk about it.
Yes, debate. What happened to debate? You can't have
no matter what profession you're in, you're probably going to debate, unless you're like behind a cubicle. But
we do debate, but then when you go out there and you try to debate anybody else or just talk to anybody else with a different opinion, they shut you right down. They cut you right off.
I wanted to ask you that because I want to leave on this note, but I want this last opinion from you because we have seen in our country with President Trump, obviously, there's lovers, there's haters. There's really not a lot in between that will say yes to some things, no to others. I try to look at them objectively. Once again, I voted for Obama and I voted for Trump, two very different candidates, right? And I was in a different mindset when I was 18 and 22 than I am now. But nonetheless, one of the things that I've seen, and speaking of kind of shaming, like mass shaming, there's this thing called like Trump shaming, right, that I've seen in regards to if I ever even mention his name, I am instantly a racist. Is that the right thing to say to somebody when you can't debate them? Or
but you know what, I had that experience happen to me last night. I get called a racist. Because and this is by BLM, a black woman from all young Caucasian children screaming at me that I'm a racist and Black Lives Matter. Right? So I get it all the time just because of who I support. And I'm just like, wait. Hold on a second. I am an African American. I love my country. I support Trump. I have mixed children. I'm proud who I am. How does that make me a racist?
Right. Interesting message. I'd like to hear more people say that because I think it's important to vote based on, maybe the person. If some people want to vote based on emotion, others want to vote based on intellect and capability, right? And I like to believe that I would vote for somebody based on, yes, their personality is important. The fact they're direct, like someone like Trump, because he tells it how it is. I like how you tell it how it is too. We didn't have to script anything. We didn't have to sit here and give me a scripted answer. These are your answers. This is you, right? I like that in a candidate personally. I think more people should look at it that way and also still have feasible plans, right? You can't say you're going to just defund the police and expect people to vote for you because that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I may not have the best pedigree, but I will go to work and I will work hard for our American citizens here in Massachusetts. I always worked. That's what I do. I always work hard. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go and do whatever I can to fight hard for these constituents in Massachusetts who are counting on me to be that voice of calm, sanity, rule of law.
Certainly. And Rayla, how can people get involved? I know we did this last time, but what are some of the ways that people are involved in your campaign, or how can they start supporting you?
So people can go directly onto my website, www.raylaforcongress.com, RAYLAFOR Congress.com. Make sure they donate through my WinRed. Money is essential. I gotta fight the machine, and every dollar counts. Doesn't matter how little. It's all about making sure we make the donations. I'm getting yard signs out so people will be able to get stuff tomorrow at my rally. As you can see, I have one of my new banners. They can get me on Facebook, same thing, Rayla for Congress, and also on Twitter, Rayla for Congress. So follow me, like my page, come out, meet me, donate to my campaign, because it's gonna take all of us to take
I
down
just
the
made this
machine.
distinction, and this thing that I noticed is that you have a son, right? And you talk to me, not a son, well, you literally have a son, but you have a son in your.
Yes,
Now you talked about this before, that you're better in sunshine. Is that true?
yes, yeah.
We all are. We have a child.
I love the sunshine. I am a bright person, like with in my name, Ray, like sunshine. So that's, for me, I'm a light. I like to be happy, but I'm also very serious and I'm very stern and I know what I want. Like I told you before, my kids fear me, but they're not afraid of me. They love me to death and they know mommy will do whatever I can for them, but they also know that mommy doesn't play.
I think that's a good distinction to have, because I think one of the things that we're seeing, one last thing, is that, and it's funny, I thought about this today, and a lot of that we're seeing with the BLM, just as like some of the activists that are out there and protesting and whatnot, a lot of them are just people that you would think that you'd see in your basement, or in mom's basement, not in your basement, mom's basement. Eating a Taco Bell all night and just playing their video games and just coming out. Now they're coming out.
Look like they rolled out of dirt. They
went to Chaz and they didn't shower. I mean, come on.
they all, and they look very gross and very dirty and just homely. I mean, it's where are the parents is my question. Where are the parents? And where is the accountability? Who's teaching them these things? And for the mixed kids, who are they pitting? Which parent are they choosing?
But yeah, because at that point now you got to figure out, are you for the white parent or the black parent? Like,
yeah, mommy or daddy. Mommy or daddy. Like, come on. That's, again, is this a way to try to move the father out of the family? Because you're going to pit the races against each other?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, Rayla, once again, really appreciate you coming on. Looks like you have some good support,
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kathy and Mark.
Yeah. And obviously your favorite, Julie.
It's Julie. And the
son. Rayla, once again, thank you so much for taking some time. I know we were anticipating like 10 to 15, but there's a lot of good topics. There's a lot of things happening, and it's important that we start talking about them, because if I'm not talking about them, if you're not talking about them, the mainstream media clearly isn't talking about the headline that I started this off with because that is the publicity he deserves. He deserves to have justice, and I think the justice system will work, and I believe that it will. I truly do.
The justice system needs to work for all of these children. I mean, how we had an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, 11-year-old, 15-year-old, all this weekend. It has got to stop. Like, stop. We've got to now man up, stand up, protect our police, protect our children, go after these criminals and put them in jail where they belong.
Certainly. Well, Rayla, thank you again. Have a great evening, and I'll probably see you tomorrow.
Yes, fantastic. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching with us. Kyle's amazing.
I appreciate it. For anyone watching on Rayla's end, peoplethinktomorrow.com. Obviously, our Facebook page is what we're on live on right now. And we have YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. So check us out. Appreciate the help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Rayla.
Thank you.